let's say that I have the money, I found one and they show me the paperwork, they seem to be legit, right? How does that work? Do I first start the process to get the golden visa, or first I have to move the money and then
that's what I'm going to say applies to any kind of investment. It can be real estate or funds. So any investment, it's important to start, like I said, by opening a bank account in Portugal and then pay whatever is the investment through that Portuguese bank account. And only after completing and paying the minimum amount of investment, which is in the law, and as I have already referred here, then with the minimum investment already completed, done and paid, then we can start the immigration process, because we can prove that the investment was done. We'll have all the paperwork related to the investment. We will have a declaration from the bank that will state exactly that the money came from abroad, because it's mandatory. It has to come from abroad, outside Portugal, and then to transfer to the Portuguese bank account of the investor, and where the compliance will be done, and then after that the money will be transferred to pay whatever.
All right. So just to be perfectly clear, transferring the money into a Portuguese bank account doesn't count for this. The money has to be moved from the bank account into the investment receiving part.
Everything counts. You see, when you get a declaration, when we submit the golden visa, we need to have a declaration from the bank that will basically state two things. Not only that the money was, from that bank account was paid to the seller, whatever is that the applicant decided, wherever he decided to invest, but also that the money came from abroad to that bank account.
All right.
So it's not possible to bring
but
cash.
But just moving the money into the Portuguese bank account and it's just sitting there in the bank.
No, it's not enough for the investment. No, it's not enough. We need to prove through all the paperwork that the investment was in fact done, have all the documents related to the investment, and only after that can we submit the application, of course, with the personal documents that we need always to add of the investor to start the immigration process itself.
So we've talked about the real estate, we've talked about funds. Is there any other avenue for this investment?
Yes, the avenue that I believe I talked at the beginning, job creation, 10 job creation, which can decrease to 8 jobs creation if it's located in low density areas of Portugal, but also investment, a financial investment like a bank account deposit, or in the government bonds, or in Portuguese stock, in Portuguese companies it can be even those that are being at the stock exchange. As long as they are Portuguese, the companies, it's possible to do investment, what we call financial investment, but that is 1.5 million. So it's much more. It's 3 times a fund's investment, for example.
Okay, so we've got the biggest concern about this program, right, is how much money do I have to invest and where can I put my money?
Exactly.
Now, what other requirements are there to move forward with the golden visa?
So besides the investment, and I can tell you, I would like just to a small note, because by January 2022 there was a change in our immigration law, and the amounts of investment increased, most of the amounts except the property investment. But all the other amounts increased. We didn't talk about it's possible to also invest in share capital of a Portuguese company, but it has to be nowadays 500,000 euros plus 5 job creation or keeping 5 jobs for 3 years. The financial investment used to be 1 million, and then it increased to 1.5 million. And the funds investment used to be 350,000 and it increased to 500,000. On the real estate side, in fact, there was no change in terms of minimum. It was kept exactly as it was. But residential property located in some parts of Portugal, especially the municipalities close to the coastline, again, the main cities in Porto, Coimbra, Lisbon, and a lot of the Algarve in the south, is no longer eligible for residential property. So residential property was withdrawn, but touristic property, offices, services, everything else that is not residential property is still eligible all over the country.
Once I've made this investment, what do I get? you've mentioned residency, but we're talking about a residency over what time period?
Yeah. So once you do the investment, the applicant does the investment, and we submit the application. We submit the application, of course, with personal documentation. If we're talking only about the main applicant, we will only need the criminal report and duly legalized, of course. And once we submit the application, there are basically 2 stages. We submit to get all the documents validated by the immigration. It will take the average used to be 3 months. It's taking more time now, a little bit more, because there are so many applications by the end of the year, exactly because of the change in the law. So there was last-minute applications, a lot of last-minute investments done during 2021. So the average time is a little bit more nowadays. We hope we will go back to this average of 3-4 months to get the documents validated. And after that, the applicant will need to wait for the biometrics appointment. It will be the immigration department notifying to get that appointment done. And once the appointment is done, is the only time actually when the applicant and family, if we're talking about family as well, they need to be in Portugal to do biometrics. We will deliver the original of the documents on that day. And then again, there's a new period again of a few months to wait for the final approval, and with it a resident permit that is issued for 2 years, and then it's renewed for 2 years and renewed again for 2 years.
When you're saying renewed, does that mean that I have to invest again in 2 years?
No, it means that you need to prove that you've kept the investment. You didn't sell whatever you invested in.
Okay,
so,
I was going to ask about that. How long do I have to keep the asset?
Exactly. So during each renewal, you need to prove that you kept the investment. That's why it's a shorter period in Golden Visa compared to the other immigration programs. And it makes sense because you have to monitorize that you've kept the investment. But after the 4th year is the second renewal. And then the investor will get investment family, because there's family reunification in this case as well. It's possible to then, after it gets 2 more years, that means the program is for 6 years. And after the 5th year, it's possible to also apply for a permanent residency and citizenship. Now, if the applicant decides to do, it's good to do, a good decision, to apply for a permanent residency, there is nowadays, since a few years ago, a permanent residency also based on investment. So that means that when the applicant applies for permanent residency based on investment, should still have the investment done. Once he gets the permanent residency based on investment, he will get immediately 5 years of permanent residency without any minimum stay in Portugal at all. And
so I could not go back to Portugal for 5 years?
You can be in Portugal, and you can be wherever you want, and you still get this 5 years permanent residency.
If this is different, then what is the minimum stay requirement in the previous period?
Yeah, previous periods is 14 days in each 2-year period. It's basically holidays. So
I mean, just take a 1 week vacation per
1
year
week
in
if you want per
Portugal,
year,
and
1 week, or 2 weeks in every 2 days, and you keep your resident permit. And after 5 years, as I said, not only you are eligible to apply for a permanent residency, which will give you 5 years without any minimum stay, but you also can apply for citizenship, because you had a form of 5 years residency, so you will be eligible for 5 years and get the citizenship and apply for citizenship.
And
Portuguese.
then the minimum stay requirement is lifted.
Well, yes, the minimum stay is lifted because you are under the permanent or whatever. If you keep, or you want to postpone the temporary in order to, and you don't want to have a permanent, but anyway, you need to be legally resident. You need. It's always good to keep the residency while the citizenship process is being processed, and because the citizenship is now taking a longer time. It's exactly the same as the other immigration program. So each of this immigration program, after 5 years, after 5 years of any, that's what I wanted to say, immigration program, it's possible to apply for citizenship, and then the citizenship process itself, it's always the same. Nowadays, it's almost 30 months now that it's taking.
That sounds very, very attractive. But you mentioned this family reunification, I don't know,
Yes.
pathway, right? What does that mean?
So that means that, we have many of our clients, they are choosing Golden Visa exactly because they still can bring they still can do the family unification. And they're adult children, more than 18. If they are studying, no matter where they are studying in the world, they are still eligible. So they can do for the whole family with one investment. The spouse will be eligible. Even the parents will be eligible if they are dependent on the investor. And the children, it's not only the minor children, but also adult children. As long as they are still single, dependent, and still studying wherever they want in the world, they will be eligible for family reunification. So with one investment, it's possible to bring the whole family together.
So everything that entails, so when after the 5 years you can apply for the citizenship, does that apply to the family too?
Yes, correct.
What about the minimum stay requirement?
The minimum is exactly the same. The family unification, the family members always follow the same as the main applicant.
So they also have to be in Portugal?
14 days in each 2-year period if they want 1 week. They all have to come on holidays.
Oh, that's a terrible thing.
Basically that. They always have to come. That's why the Golden Visa is very popular.